In a quiet Spanish town, Ian, a young boy with extraordinary powers, stands guard outside a store while his father, Vicente, slips inside. Ian uses his abilities to cast a powerful illusion, making the clerk inside completely unaware of the theft. With bottles of alcohol tucked away in his jacket, Vicente makes a small, insignificant purchase to avoid any suspicion before exiting the store. But even after his father is gone, Ian keeps the illusion going, as Vicente looks for their truck. Suddenly, a group of girls walks past, mocking Ian and calling him a weirdo. The hurtful words shatter Ian's focus, causing the illusion to fade instantly. Inside, the clerk notices the missing bottles and grabs a hammer, charging out of the store in a fit of rage after Vicente. Panicked and filled with fear, Ian quickly creates another illusion, making it seem as though he's holding a gun. But the clerk keeps coming, showing no fear. Overwhelmed, Ian accidentally fires the imaginary weapon, and the woman falls to the ground. In that moment, a rush of memories floods into Ian's mind, a strange side effect of his power. The sound of police sirens wails in the distance, growing louder with each second. Vicente grabs Ian, pulling him into the truck, and speeds away as police cars arrive on the scene. But when an officer checks on the woman, they find no wound, as if nothing ever happened. As Vicente races down the highway, police cars close in behind them. Thinking fast, Ian flips the rearview mirror to reflect his power back at the officers. He creates a grand illusion, making the police think they are driving on a completely different road. Vicente scolds him for being reckless with his abilities. The illusion holds for a while, but as soon as they drive too far, it shatters. The police realize they've been tricked and resume the chase. Frustrated, Ian argues with his father, asking why they have to live in secret when they could use his powers to become wealthy. Vicente refuses, warning him that it would attract the wrong kind of attention. When Ian asks who they are, Vicente remains silent, refusing to give him an answer. By the time they reach the beach, Ian unleashes a huge illusion. The police officer suddenly finds himself trapped in a dangerous hailstorm. Ice batters his car, and a powerful gust of wind flips it over, dragging it toward a gas station. Just as the officer is about to panic, the illusion fades away. Everything is normal again, but it's too late. The whole event was captured by security cameras, and soon, the footage reaches a mysterious woman known as Dr. Adriana. The next morning, Ian and Vicente wake up in an old, abandoned ship, their hidden home. Ian is haunted by a dream of his mother, her voice warm and soothing as she sings to him as a baby. But suddenly, her voice turns into a scream, jolting him awake. Shaken by the dream, Ian gets up as Vicente, trying to make the day special, prepares a birthday breakfast for him. He also shows Ian an old photo of his mother, taken on the day he first discovered his powers. Ian, wanting a normal birthday, asks to go to the arcade, but Vicente forbids it. Angry, Ian storms into his room and takes out his frustration on a training dummy. After venting his rage, he makes a decision. He sneaks out of the ship through the window, determined to go to the arcade on his own. Meanwhile, in town, the cop tells a bartender about the weird hailstorm he experienced. A man known as the Perceiver overhears their conversation and discreetly uses his power to knock the officer unconscious. Later that night, a special team surrounds the abandoned ship. While Vicente is distracted by the television, Dr. Adriana approaches him, treating him like an old friend. She announces that she's with the agency and demands to know about Ian. When Vicente refuses to give her any information, the agents beat him, trying to force him to talk. Before he can say anything, a message comes in from another group of agents who have found Ian's location. At that very moment, Ian is at the arcade, completely unaware that the Perceiver and two agents are closing in on him. The Perceiver moves quickly, pushing one of the agents behind a curtain and taking him down with ease. He then uses the agent's radio to mimic a fake voice, reporting that there's a Perceiver in the area. The trick works perfectly, and Adriana immediately alerts all her agents, shifting their focus to the new target. With the agents distracted, the Perceiver resumes his search for Ian, who is hiding behind a table. One of the agency agents spots him and opens fire on the Perceiver, but the bullets hit nothing. The figure was only an illusion. The real Perceiver steps out from behind the agent, watching as his enemy chases the false image. Raising his hand, he tries to trick Ian next, but another agency agent sneaks up and slams a helmet onto his head, blocking his abilities. The Perceiver reacts instantly, shoving the agent back and getting into a brutal fight. In a dark room, he throws the man through a wall with a final blow, only to find himself surrounded by an entire team of agents. Despite being outnumbered, the Perceiver fights them off effortlessly, moving through the room as if the VR players around them don't even exist. One by one, the agents fall, until they are all down. Once they're all unconscious, he rips the helmet off and continues his search for Ian. Meanwhile, Ian is found by Esther and another agent, who lead him outside. A van is waiting for them, and Adriana greets him, telling him that he isn't alone and that there are more people like him. She then shows him a devastating sight. His father, Vicente, has been captured. With no other choice, Ian goes along with them. But the moment he steps inside the van, they tie him up and put a helmet on his head to block his powers. As he struggles, they take a blood sample. By the time the perceiver reaches the street, the van is already gone. Thinking quickly, he creates an illusion of a baby stroller rolling into the road. A passing truck slams on its brakes to avoid the stroller, causing a huge accident. Inside the van, the driver hesitates, thinking about stopping, but Adriana sees through the trick. She orders him to keep going, revealing that even the truck was an illusion. Moments later, Ian wakes up in the agency's facility. Adriana stands before him, explaining the truth about their war. She says that the agency has been fighting against a secret group called the Conscience, people with abilities just like his. According to her, the Conscience has been controlling governments for years, making sure that no matter who wins an election, nothing truly changes. The agency's mission is to stop them and bring back real democracy. But there's another reason she's interested in Ian. She warns him that the Perceiver will try to recruit him, and if he refuses, he will be killed. She offers him another choice: join the agency instead. More importantly, she wants the secret formula hidden in Ian's blood. If they can get the right formula, they could develop a way to block the enemy's powers. Adriana then tests Ian's abilities, asking him what he can project with his mind. When he admits that he has never been able to create an illusion of a person, she refuses to believe it. She pushes him, setting up a difficult test. Ian struggles at first, but Adriana explains that his powers are fueled by strong emotions. She shows him a picture of his mother and reminds him of his painful childhood. The memories hit him hard, and suddenly, Ian's illusion takes shape. They are now standing on a vast beach with a gentle breeze in the air. A small fly buzzes around Adriana, breaking the stillness. Satisfied, she pushes him even further, asking him to bring them back to reality while keeping the fly in a loop, a term used for permanent illusions. But Ian refuses, ending the illusion completely. His patience is gone, and he demands to see his father. Adriana takes Ian to see Vicente, who warns him not to trust the agency. He tells him that they will only use him for experiments, but Adriana presents Ian with a choice. If he doesn't believe her, he can look into Vicente's memories himself. This, she reveals, is Ian's second ability. Curious, Ian reaches out and enters Vicente's mind. He sees a younger version of Vicente, working for the agency. One day, during a moment of chaos, when an alarm distracted everyone, Vicente seized the opportunity to steal baby Ian. Adriana tried to stop him, but Vicente fought off the guards and escaped. Back in the present, Ian pulls away, completely shaken. Vicente isn't his real father. Adriana confirms it, but then offers a shocking revelation. His mother might still be alive. Later, Adriana meets with an American superior, showing him Ian's blood test results. The man demands to know how Ian got his powers. Adriana explains that, unlike other perceivers who were thought to be sterile, Ian inherited his abilities from his parents. He is the first person born as one. The American immediately orders her to get the formula and get rid of Ian. But Adriana refuses, believing that Ian could awaken a third ability, making him their only defense against the mule. The American, however, dismisses the mule as nothing more than a myth. Elsewhere in the facility, a doctor examines Ian's test results and smirks at his findings. His neuron factor is 204%. Meanwhile, in his room, Ian is confronted by Esther. She tells him he's just a lab rat and offers to help him escape. Ian agrees, and they make their way downstairs, only to be surrounded by guards. But Esther isn't an ordinary agent. With a baton, a taser, and incredible skill, she takes them all down in minutes. Once the guards are unconscious, she and Ian get ready to flee. However, Ian refuses to leave without Vicente, whose memories hold the answers he needs. As they drag Vicente outside and search for a car, Adriana realizes the escape and sounds the alarm. Agents rush out, opening fire, but Ian speeds off while arguing with Vicente about his lies. Inside the facility, chaos erupts. The doctor from earlier suddenly pulls out a gun and shoots everyone in the room. He checks the security cameras before revealing his true identity. He is the Perceiver. Meanwhile, Ian uses his illusions to confuse the guards, making them fire in the wrong direction. Reaching the mountain roads, Ian's reckless driving sends the car off the road and crashing into the trees. Moments later, the Perceiver arrives. Ian quickly casts an illusion, making the area appear empty. But the Perceiver simply smiles before walking away, knowing it's not real. The trio finds a rundown motel to hide in. The next morning, Ian and Esther spend some time together on the rooftop before heading back to their room. Inside, they discover Vicente passed out drunk. Still desperate for answers, Ian decides to enter his father's memories again. This time, he sees Adriana holding a file belonging to a patient named Kaminsky, who is scheduled for transfer to Poland. She then checks on a van outside, instructing the driver to inject the formula that night. Ian's gaze shifts behind the driver, where he spots a masked person missing 3 fingers. The sight shocks him so much that he loses the connection and is pulled back to reality. Later, Ian goes to a bank, using his power to his advantage. He hands the clerk a blank piece of paper, making her believe it's a check. She hands over the money without any hesitation. As Ian leaves, the illusion wears off, and the clerk, realizing she was tricked, calls for security. Luckily, Ian finds Esther, and they escape before getting caught. Back at the motel, Esther playfully tosses the stolen cash in the air before heading to the shower. But Ian is uneasy. Vicente is missing. Then, a car pulls up outside, and Esther tells Ian to stay hidden. Ian quickly prepares an illusion as the perceiver steps inside. He sees an abandoned room, but Ian makes a fatal mistake. The mirror remains uncovered, and illusions don't affect reflections. Seeing through the trick, the perceiver tears it apart. The fight begins as Ian conjures shifting illusions, trying to disorient him, but the perceiver counters every move. Ian grabs Esther's taser, then a chair, but nothing works. The perceiver is relentless, pinning Ian against the wall. He glances at the bathroom, then dives into Ian's mind, seeing the truth. Ian went to the bank for money because he plans to travel to Poland to find the scientists behind the experiment. Ian loses consciousness as the perceiver drops him without another word and walks away. Moments later, Ian is dreaming of his mother again. But the memory fades as Vicente shakes him awake. The mood is tense as Vicente scolds Ian, furious that the bank robbery has become a major news story, but Ian shifts the blame back onto him, calling him by his name instead of Dad. The tension erupts into a full-blown argument. Vicente gives Ian a choice: either keep going down this reckless path that will only lead to pain, or leave everything behind and stay with him. Ian doesn't hesitate, and chooses to go to Poland alone. Meanwhile, Adriana and the American track the stolen cash, following the serial numbers. Their search leads them to Ian's latest purchase: train tickets to Poland. Sometime later, Ian and Esther arrive in Poland, immediately setting out to find the lab. Unbeknownst to them, agents are waiting nearby, but before they can act, the perceiver appears and takes them all down with a few quick shots. The duo soon finds the lab, an old abandoned building. Ian recognizes the room from his dreams, but something feels off. He insists it should be bigger and starts tapping the walls until he hears a hollow sound. Wasting no time, he breaks through the wall, uncovering a hidden room filled with cabinets and documents. One notebook stands out, titled Project Awareness. Inside, Ian finds a photograph of his mother, and as he stares at it, memories of her flood his mind. Esther flips the picture over and reads the note on the back. The revelation is shocking. Ian's grandfather was the scientist behind the experiments, and he used his own daughter as a test subject. Meanwhile, back at the ship, Vicente drowns his frustration in alcohol. His solitude is interrupted when Adriana arrives. She looks at him with disdain, telling him to stop drinking and start being a real father. Back at the lab, Ian is caught off guard when Esther brings the perceiver inside. She insists she's helping him get the answers he's been searching for, but Ian doesn't trust him. Without hesitation, he pulls out a gun, but the perceiver just smirks, knowing it's just an illusion. He walks right through it, looking around and spotting multiple versions of Ian surrounding him from every angle. He remains calm, knowing they are all fake. His gaze shifts to Esther, who silently points toward the real Ian. The perceiver turns the corner, corners Ian, and raises his own gun. Then, he reveals the biggest bombshell yet. He is Ian's real father. During the Cold War, a scientist developed a powerful formula and injected it into a group of volunteers, including his daughter and the perceiver. This experiment gave them special abilities, turning them into elite spies capable of mental manipulation. But after the war ended, the government no longer had any use for them. Fearing these spies could turn against them, they started eliminating them one by one. That's when the Mule appeared. The Mule was the most powerful of all the perceivers. When they tried to kill him, he revealed a third ability: mind control. This ability allowed him to make enemies turn on each other, or even end their own lives. After escaping, the Mule gathered the remaining survivors, forming an underground organization known as the Conscience. Through him, perceivers learned to hide their abilities and live normal lives. The name Mule came from his biggest flaw: he was sterile. In fact, all perceivers were supposed to be sterile. Ian's mother and the perceiver never thought they could have a child. They didn't take precautions, believing it was impossible. But then the impossible happened. Ian was born. He is the first and only perceiver to be born naturally. As agents flood into the building, the perceiver hears them approaching. Without hesitation, he tells Esther to take Ian to his house in Madrid. As the duo heads for the stairs, the perceiver stays behind to fight. His first move is swift and brutal. He shoots down several agents before they can react. But more keep coming, so he shifts tactics. He casts illusions of spiders crawling over them, creating just enough of a distraction to take them out even faster. Despite his efforts, two agents manage to surprise him from behind. Before he can react, they clamp a helmet onto his head, blocking his abilities. Meanwhile, Ian and Esther encounter another squad of agents, but for Esther, it's hardly a challenge. Within seconds, she takes them all down, even using their own weapons against them. Reaching the rooftop, she shows off her agility, making a flawless jump to the other side. Ian hesitates for a moment, but more agents burst onto the roof, leaving him no time to think. He quickly slides down a tunnel and escapes with Esther. Later, the Perceiver is restrained at the agency's lab. A robotic arm extracts a blood sample before the scientists begin their real work. They activate a machine designed to analyze his body, and the process is excruciatingly painful. He writhes in pain as the machine pushes him to his limit. Watching from the control room, the American orders Adriana to stop, warning that this will kill him, but she ignores him, pushing the experiment forward. The Perceiver's body trembles violently, his groans turning into full screams of agony. The pain is overwhelming, and eventually, Adriana is forced to shut the experiment down. Minutes later, a scientist delivers bad news. The formula is too diluted in the Perceiver's bloodstream and is useless. Realizing they have no other option, Adriana informs the American that Ian is their only hope. Back in his cell, the Perceiver regains some strength. He calmly asks for water, and a robot rolls forward, offering him a glass. That's when he makes his move. Looking into the camera attached to the machine, he activates his third ability, mind control. Through the camera, he seizes control of the technician's mind. In an instant, the technician turns on his colleagues. With the push of a button, the robot's weaponry activates, gunning down every scientist and agent in the room. Then, with a vacant stare, the technician unlocks the Perceiver's restraints. In Madrid, Esther and Ian arrive at the Perceiver's home. The housekeeper greets them with a shocking revelation. Ian's mother is alive, but she isn't the woman he remembers. Because of the experiments, she is trapped in a catatonic state, unable to move or speak. Ian approaches her carefully, and at that moment, the Perceiver arrives, revealing that she isn't entirely gone. A small fragment of her mind is still intact. Ian reaches out and enters her consciousness. Inside her memories, they are reunited. In reality, her body trembles, a sign that she can feel his presence. Moments later, the Perceiver joins them inside her mind, showing Ian the pain she endured under the agency's control. But then comes a shocking revelation. Before she was captured, Ian's mother implanted a memory deep within his subconscious, a safeguard containing the formula. The key to unlocking it is his childhood toys. The Perceiver sees an opportunity. If he can extract the formula, he could change everything. He reaches for the memory, but an invisible barrier stops him. Ian realizes his mother never wanted anyone to have the formula. Ignoring this, the Perceiver pushes harder, trying to break through. The force disrupts her mind, causing a deep strain. A wave of pain surges through her, and suddenly, they are all pulled back into reality. In her final moments, Ian does the only thing he can. He sings her childhood lullaby, just as she once did for him. Tears slip down his face as she fades away. The peaceful moment is shattered by chaos as agents storm the house, breaking into the room. Overwhelmed with grief, something inside Ian snaps. For the first time, his third power awakens. With a single command, he takes control. The agents freeze, then suddenly, they turn against each other, confusion filling their eyes. Within moments, they collapse, unable to resist Ian's power. But he isn't done. Stepping out into the hallway, he searches for more of them. His emotions boil over, fueling his abilities as he commands them to surrender their strength, all of them falling under his control. Behind him, Esther watches, shaken by what she sees. The agents retreat outside, regrouping with Adriana, but Ian follows. His presence is overwhelming as he forces them all to their knees, weapons in hand, completely under his influence. Before he can give the final command, Vicente appears, yelling for Ian to stop. He warns him that the Perceiver is twisting his emotions, pushing him toward an irreversible path. The Perceiver steps forward, tossing a weapon at Ian's feet. If he wants revenge, he might as well turn against Vicente too. But Ian isn't interested in Vicente. His focus is on the agency. Vicente snaps, accusing the Perceiver of manipulating Ian and pretending to be a father when he was never there. Without hesitation, the Perceiver raises his weapon and fires. The sound of the shot breaks Ian's control, and the agents collapse, freed from his influence. As the Perceiver seizes the moment to pull Esther away, Ian rushes to Vicente's side. Weakly, Vicente reaches out, asking Ian to enter his mind one last time. He knows his time is short. Inside the memory, Ian finally sees the truth. It was his mother who begged Vicente to take him away, to protect him. Overcome with guilt, Ian apologizes, and this time, he calls him Dad. They embrace, reliving a cherished moment, fishing together on a peaceful day. As the memory fades, Vicente's strength gives out. Ian, his heart heavy, picks up the fallen weapon and sets out to stop the Perceiver. He tracks him to a neighboring building where a wild party is in full swing. Esther's voice echoes through the music as Ian pushes through the crowd until he finally spots them. The Perceiver is holding Esther at gunpoint. The fight begins, but not with fists. Both Ian and the Perceiver struggle for control over the weapon with their minds. It trembles between them, caught in the clash of their powers. But Ian's abilities are still unstable. He loses his grip, and the Perceiver seizes control. Switching tactics, the Perceiver turns the entire crowd against Ian. One by one, people move toward him, their eyes empty, their bodies controlled. Ian barely holds his ground, using a tray as a makeshift shield. But the pressure mounts as he is surrounded and outnumbered. Every second pushes him closer to the edge until something shifts inside him. The desperation unlocks his full potential, and now, in complete control of the third power, Ian fights back. He moves effortlessly through the crowd, knocking down enemies with whatever he can grab, bottles, chairs, anything. But the Perceiver doesn't stop. He keeps sending more people. Then comes the final attacker, stronger and faster than the rest. A hand clamps around Ian's throat. He gasps, struggling, but this one won't let go. Ian is seconds away from death when a gunshot rings out. Adriana arrives just in time, putting a bullet through his attacker's head. As Ian catches his breath, he pleads with the Perceiver not to hurt Esther, but Adriana gives him a chilling revelation. Esther isn't real. The Perceiver has trapped him in a loop. Ian's mind spins as he sifts through his own memories, and reality shatters. He was the one who did everything he saw Esther do. The loop was planted back at the arcade when the Perceiver first looked into his mind. Tears stream down Ian's face, the weight of betrayal crushing him. But then Esther speaks. Her emotions and her feelings for him, they were real. Desperate and panicked, Ian pulls the trigger. The bullet cuts through the illusion and hits the Perceiver instead. As he collapses, the illusion breaks. Esther, real or not, runs to Ian, embracing him as he sobs into her shoulder. Sometime later, Ian makes sure that both his mother and Vicente receive proper graves. Standing in the cemetery, he silently says his goodbyes. Adriana visits as well, making one final plea. She needs the formula, and he needs to choose a side in the war. But Ian refuses. He won't be a part of this war. He walks away with Esther, ready to start a new life. They get into the truck, and this time, Ian doesn't hesitate. He leans in and kisses her before driving off. Ian catches a final glimpse of Adriana. She stands with the American, deep in conversation. But then Ian glances at the truck's mirror, and the American isn't there. Adriana has a loop in her head too.